the Citizens Advisory Council meeting dated February 25th, 7 p.m. My name is Rob Sims, and I call this meeting to order. And want to welcome everyone who's on the line tonight. I'm going to do a quick roll call to see who we have on the line. And first, we'll go with Jim Bronner.
Yep.
Clodagh McSweeney.
Here.
Orel Henry.
Here.
Warren Boone.
Present.
Jessica Nguyen.
Present.
And I believe, do we have Mr. Mingo?
I don't see him on the list of attendees, but he did say he is listening in.
All right. So is 847, would that be Mr. Belton?
847-4921, yes.
Excellent. Good evening, Mr. Belton.
Good evening, Mr. How are you doing?
Doing good, sir. Thank you.
That's great.
Okay. All right. Then we also have on the call, we have from Community Development, we have Mr. Michael Mcnair. And we have Michelle Mcnair. Miss Thanina Wilson. And Miss Alicia Doolin.
Hello, I'm here.
All right, excellent. Would someone like to open us up in prayer this evening?
Belton, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Belton.
Our Father, we're thankful for this privilege that we can pause for a moment to invite your presence into this meeting. We first give thanks for all the wonderful things that you have provided for us. We'll thank you for the limited knowledge that we have, and as we continue to use it, we pray that it will continue to develop in a way that you will receive the glory. We're thankful for each participant in this meeting this evening. We ask collectively that you will keep us in the palm of your hands. But we also ask individually because we have individual needs, and we know that you know what they are. As we continue to review and look at the material that's before us, we pray that there will be men, women, boys, and girls that will benefit greatly from our task, from our work, from our commitment to do this. We pray that the funds will go far as well as near to reach those who are in need of it. We pray for this city and its leadership. Continue to keep your loving arms around them and keep us in the palm of your hand. Now, as we advance into the meat of the meeting, we invite your presence. We pray that you'll speak to our hearts, our minds, and sharpen our intellect, that we will make decisions that will be beneficial to many. But at the end, we pray that we will do nothing that will be contrary to your will. We ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Belton. Now, I saw last night that we did accept the minutes, and it's on the agenda for this evening. So do we have new minutes?
No.
Okay. All right. So those minutes have already been accepted. Does anyone have any questions about those minutes from yesterday? Okay. All right. So we'll go to old business, and we're going to get an update on the 2021 funding, and Michelle is going to present that to us.
Okay, as you guys remember last month's meeting, you decided that you wanted us with the $10,000 that we had left, you wanted us to move down the roster on actually awarding people grant monies. And so we've done that. And the Arc of High Point will be getting the funds that we requested for them. High Point Housing Authority will also get their funds, and the Mental Health Association will be getting funds. Mental Health has actually looked at their application, and the amount of monies that they initially requested is going to be a little different than what we'll be giving them. And so out of everybody that has said they could use the monies at this point, we have $3,864 left. Any questions? If you want detailed information, I can send that over to you later.
Can that be thrown into the pot with all this we're doing now?
I'm sorry.
Can that money, the 3,000 that you just mentioned, can that be thrown into the pot with what we're doing now tonight?
No, it cannot. It can't carry over. It cannot carry over. And then I failed to let you know, you remember we did not do CBI last year. And
Right.
so we added the CBI funds to this pot. And with the CBI funds and the balance of the money that we have, and the agencies that said they could use the money, the $3,864 is what we have left.
So what happens to that money? Does just
It goes
mean-
it goes back with community development and housing to
okay?
use for something else.
All right. Okay, so they've already received the money. Arc of High Point, Housing
They
Authority.
have not, we don't give monies out in advance. So it's a reimbursement type thing. And so we're in the process now of sending them out letters and doing contracts for some and amending some contracts.
They still have the same deadline, correct? Fiscal year 2021. They should be completed, or has that been extended also?
The deadline for those particular grants was September 2021.
Mhm.
And so when they get the funds, that's the deadline that we're going to continue to use. And then, you know, when they get closer to September, and if for some reason they may request to be extended, but right now it appears that for the most part they will be able to use the money.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, and then I would like to also update you on the additional funds that we had for CDBG CV. As you guys recall, there was 198,300 and I think it was $43 that we had left. And I think Mike mentioned to you at last night's meeting and then last month's meeting that that money was actually going to go to 4 agencies to help with utilities, mortgage, and rent. And so we have already executed that plan.
And Michelle, who are those 4 agencies?
Housing Consulting Group, West End Ministries, Open Door Ministries, and Piedmont Help and Sickle Cell Agent.
Was it divided equally or?
No, it was not divided equally, Jim. We divided the money on, when we get in their reports every month, we see, you know, the number of people that they have served and some of the things that they can do. So it was divided that way. Plus we have one agency that does all 4 of those services. And so that agency got a little bit more than the rest of the agencies do.
If I could add to Michelle's report, and I mentioned last night, those actions were taken to council for their approval. So that was actually on the, whatever that Monday meeting was. So that all went to council and they approved it.
Okay. All right. Any other old business? Anyone? Okay. We'll just keep moving along. Next up, we have Michael Mcnair with Community Development and Housing Updates.
Mr. Chair, I really don't have any new updates from last night. I know things are moving fast in the world, but it didn't change that much overnight. So I don't really have any new updates for you. I think I mentioned to you last night that we'll have a pretty interesting agenda set up for the Community Development Committee next week on Tuesday afternoon. If your schedule permits, you ought to sign on and listen to what we're talking about. I'll just to say again, there'll be an update from the Continuum of Care, which deals with homeless services. There'll be an update from the Greater High Point Food Alliance. And then there'll be a discussion of upcoming projects for affordable multifamily housing that will be using tax exempt housing bonds. So that's pretty much all I have, sir. Anybody has any questions for me?
Yeah, Mike, when are they gonna, people start moving into the place up on Wendover? What is that, Avondale Trace or something?
My understanding is they're leasing up now.
Are they? I haven't seen no activity there. That's why I wondered. I go past there every day.
Yeah, I might have to go in the parking lot and sit and just observe, but they've got the sign up leasing now, and they already had a list of people. I mean, they basically were full from day one. They just hadn't moved in yet.
I hope people don't have a problem when it snows getting up that hill.
Well, the other hill that was there was pretty steep.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So Mike, what time is the meeting on Tuesday afternoon?
4:00.
Okay. And that's a Zoom meeting?
Yes.
All right. How would individuals attend this meeting? How can they get the information to log in?
Well, Ryan, don't let me give them bad information, but you should be able to go to the city's website where they have a listing of virtual meetings. And you're supposed to be able to just hit the link and go in from there. Now, of course, it'll be audio only. You'll be able to see the presentations, but there's no cameras in City Hall council chambers. So you won't see anybody in the room, but any presentations that are being made with shared screens, you would see that. And then you'd have the audio.
All right. Hey, group, any questions from Mike, from Michelle? Okay. We have a city council update on the agenda, but I don't see Mr. Jefferson. So I'm not sure if Mike or Michelle, you guys have anything to update from city council.
Well, one thing that we should have talked to you about was we had our first citizen participation meeting this morning. It was a virtual meeting. We had 3 council members participate. Wesley Hudson, Britt Moore, and Christopher Williams were there. And I think we had 19 participants, but that might have been including staff as well. But had a pretty good exchange of information. Quite a few questions were asked, and we were trying to answer them to the best of our ability. We did a overview of what the department does and what the funding's all about, and what we are. Well, we haven't gotten into the plan yet, but just kind of giving an overview of where we are right now. So that was pretty good. And then we'll have 2 more meetings, night virtual meetings. I think one will be on March 2nd and the other one will be on March 9th, and both of them will be at 6:30. So would encourage you to sit in on one or both if you like.
Okay. Thanks again, Mike. And I also would encourage everyone to attend those meetings. I attended the meeting this morning, so it was a very good meeting. Mike did very well, and we got a lot of good information. So I do encourage everyone to sign up if you can. Okay. So on to new business. We're going to go into our grant presentations. So we'll start with Weston Ministries, and I think if Alicia, you're ready, you can bring in the first proposal.
Sure. Brad Bowers is on the line from Weston Ministries.
Hello. Thank you for having me today. I am, as you can see in our, I'm guessing everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
This year for our CDBG, we're asking for a shed. And I know that seems like a odd ask, but I do want to explain to you the purpose of this. Over at Leslie's house, which is our shelter for women that are experiencing homelessness, one problem that we've had for years is when a woman comes into our shelter, that one of the very first things that we have to ask them to do, even though we're a 22 bed shelter, with COVID, we have cut our bed size down some to account for social distancing. The house is full. When a lady comes in, usually there's one of three circumstances. A lot of times she has clothes on her back, which of course we will take her to the thrift store. We will get her clothing, so on and so forth. Sometimes if they're driving, their car will be packed. Every belonging they have will be packed in that car. The third circumstance, which happens a lot, women will show up, somebody will drop them off, whether it's a hospital, a friend, or somebody that's just picked them up that has brought them to us, and they've got all these bags, and I mean a lot of stuff. They have lost their home, they've lost everything, and we do not have a walk-in closet for everyone at our shelter. There's just not enough room. Every woman is given a locker. If you imagine the locker that you had in high school, every woman is assigned a locker, and they have a tub that slides under their bed. And that's where she's allowed to keep her personal items, her clothing, any other items that she may bring with her. Unfortunately, a lot of women bring a lot more than that. They have a lot more clothes than that. They have other personal items they bring with them. The very first thing we do is we tell them they have to get rid of it. Imagine being homeless. Imagine not having nowhere to go. You're already desperate. You're already depressed. You're already, your dignity, you're having to ask somebody for a place to stay. And the very first thing that they're telling you is, yes, we can take you in, but everything you own, you've got to leave. I've seen women, they have to take their stuff, they'll give it to other women. I've actually seen women go through their stuff, and some of it they take up to the dumpster and have to throw away. And it's just because we don't have the room. We do not have the room. Like I said, we don't have the space for a walk-in closet for everybody that comes in. So our solution to this is to have a shed. We've looked at the idea for a couple of years. We would need a cement pad pit beside of Leslie's house. We're looking at a 10 by 12, and then just have a shed brought in, and we would have big tubs that they're able to, once their clothes is cleaned and washed, they put their belongings in the tubs. Everything is labeled and organized. When they leave the shelter, then they can take their belongings with them. And so that's what I'm here to ask you for today. Our shelter, we usually have, I know y'all know a lot of the numbers. We've asked for help with our shelter before. We usually serve over about 220 women a year. This year in 2020, because of COVID, that number was drastically declined. I think we've done 139 women because of COVID and social distancing. We are working on ways to increase that number back up to get the more bed space. But even though there are other problems out there, this has been an ongoing problem for several years, and this is the solution that we've came up with, and the solution we're hoping y'all are able to help us with this year.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bowers. That was excellent, sir. Now it's time for Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bowers? Yes, Jim.
Hey, Brad, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Jim. I hope you are.
Oh, every day is a good day. I know there's a couple women's shelters, but are you pretty much the main one? I know there's not many of them, and their capacity is not very big, but what is your capacity at one time?
When we was at 22 women, we was one of the biggest women's shelters in all of Gifford County.
Yeah, I thought so.
And in High Point, the way High Point is actually broken up for the most part, not everything, because we do have family services that is just for domestic violence. We try to make sure we take care of all the women that do not have dependents, so pretty much all the single women. Salvation Army, they do have some beds for single women, but the majority of their shelter is for families. And then Open Door Ministries tries to take care of the single men.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Hmm.
I know you said your application says 139 women over the course of the year. How many people do you ever have at one time? And what I'm getting at is how many people's belongings do you think would fit in the 10 by 12 space?
Right now, and the numbers do vary. That's a hard question to answer, and I'm going to tell you why. The numbers vary so much. Like I said, pre-COVID, we was a 22 bed shelter. So at any time we could have 22 women. We had to downsize to 14 right now. But we've also, since December, we are also running a winter shelter and an overflow shelter in our community center with another 15 women. So actually right now we have 29 women here. Out of those 29 women, I would say half of them has problem with storage of their stuff. And I do believe that 10 by, I think at any given time, we would be able to store at least 20 women's belongings if it is stored properly and organized properly in that shed. But our numbers, because of our overflow shelter, winter shelter, because of COVID, that number fluctuates literally every day, it seems like, just about.
That makes total sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Got a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, hey, Brad, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I hope you are.
I'm doing fine. Yeah, I believe that this will be needed, and thank you for what y'all are doing, of course. My question has to do with this shelter. I'm pretty sure it's a commercial grade, so it's going to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Have y'all discussed about security?
We have, well, of course, we'll definitely put, good padlocks on it. That's in the budget. We have right now, we have several cameras that we use for security. And actually, we use Carolina Security here. And we have ordered 6 more cameras. And our whole property, our parking lots, the front and the back of Leslie's house, our winter shelter, and our new facility that we're opening up right now, everything will be covered by cameras and security systems as well. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One question for you, Brad. What's the average stay of the women who come in now, and has that changed since COVID?
Yes. Average stay, I think at one time was around 28 days. Now, when they come in, they're actually given 30 days. A lot of women stay 60 days. A lot of women stay 90 days, 3 months. And we have had women stay longer. Every single case is different. And it depends on what they're doing. Are they doing everything they can do to get to the next level, to get into permanent housing? and we're there to help them. And sometimes it just takes a little bit longer. And so we take it case by case. When COVID hit, a couple of things that we seen. One, we're under quarantine a lot of times we'll go under 14-day quarantine. The housing market in 2020 all but shut down. Nobody's being evicted, so nobody's moving. Landlords weren't letting people come into their homes and places to look at homes. The housing actually shut down for a long time in 2020 to where it was hard to actually even find a place. Of course, work at one point had gotten a lot of our ladies work in restaurants, they work in Walmart. A lot of those places closed down. So they no longer had income. So the whole process slowed down. So it was slower. Things are picking back up. We're seeing jobs opening back up. We're seeing the housing market starting to move back along. So things are picking back up in those aspects.
Excellent. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Mr. Bowers, thank you very much for your time this evening, sir. We appreciate all that you do. And, we wish you continued success and wish you a good evening, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of y'all as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right. Next up is community and schools. Alicia, whenever you're ready.
And from Communities and Schools, it should be Tommy Walls and Marjorie Rory.
Good evening, Mr. Walls.
Rob, how you doing? Pleasure to see you all. How you all?
Good. Miss Marjorie, good evening.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
All right.
So we're ready when you are, sir.
Okay. Well, we are back for another TED Talk for Communities and Schools of High Point. And we are always trying to get the best bang for our buck. So Marjorie and I have come up with a phenomenal concept that we think will matriculate throughout all of our students that we're trying to work with. So if you all haven't noticed, we have a group called the Young Ambassadors Council that we have with CIS that's piloted at High Point Central. This was started out in last year of 2020, but because of COVID, we had to cease the program, and we're now looking to start that back up this year and next year. And so essentially what this is a group that focuses on advocacy, social change, community service, and public speaking. And with this group, they want to do something interactive with the community as well as their peers in order to really enhance their impact with virtual learning. And they said, well, since, Mr. Thomas, since we're doing all this virtual learning, we might as well do it and have control over it and make it our own. So we decided that we wanted to do an interactive web design model with them. And essentially, we wanted to focus on diversity and inclusiveness. And so with this, they're going to write an essay that talks about how they are unique. It's going to be 35 students going to write that essay. And they're going to talk about how they're unique. And then they're going to answer the question on how can COVID-19 be prevented in low-income areas within our community to enhance their knowledge about COVID-19 and how they can be more safe. And so with the prompts that we're going to give them, we're going to then select who has the best, and then they're going to be awarded a computer for their essays for the 20 students. Those students will sit on a Young Ambassadors Council and design this website. So the objectives of this website is really to enhance their STEM knowledge, coding. They're going to have information on there about home buying, credit repair, CREM that has been sponsored by the High Point Community Foundation and High Point Resilience, career exploration, and they're going to actually build interactive quizzes to help them be more responsible adults. And so these interactive quizzes are then going to be taken by other youth, about 50 youth or so, and they're going to have pre and post test knowledge on how they have been able to increase their knowledge on all of these areas. And so because I'm also the executive director, I also do IT and I manage our website. So I thought it would be a phenomenal experience to show them exactly what I'm doing every day and posting some of the videos and things that we're doing, but also help them create their own tab. So with the funds that we've asked for, we want to try to get a contractor on to help with our web design. That also helps me with some of our marketing material to teach our students about how to do these concepts. And we just want to just, take capital on and show them how to do, enhance their virtual knowledge since they're already on it. But the best way about this is that they'll have control over this model. And so all in all, it's really just to provide them with the skills to be responsible adults, but doing it in a way that not only do they have to research this information, but they also have to learn and code to how to put it on the website. So it's really a 2-in-1 special that we're doing with our students. And because this model can be done virtually, we're also looking to do this as a hybrid model too, to hold at our CIS office. So, and all in all, it's really just to build their capacity to understand about diversity and inclusion with their essays, help them understand about coding and also about COVID-19 and how serious this is for our communities, but also give them an opportunity to build a website where they get to take control of and be interactive with.
All right, that was nice. Thank you, Mr. Walls. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Davis. You have the floor. Go ahead.
He said the students at High Point Central. Is this just for students at High Point Central, or all students from other schools involved also?
No, this is also with other schools. I'm just saying that the current students that we're working with are at High Point Central for the Young Ambassadors Council.
All right. Thank you.
I think Ms. Clota had a question.
Yeah, I actually have a background in IT too, web development, among other things. I was wondering what software you guys were planning to use. And also I noticed there was like a $300 budget per month for a web developer, which is probably just a couple hours a month. So I was just wondering how that was going to work.
Yeah, so look.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Does someone have some background noise? We want to try and see if we can mute that out. Somebody's got a conversation going in the background?
Probably me.
There we go.
All right.
Oh, okay. Good question. So we currently operate our website off of Wix, which is least expensive out of all the ones that I've seen, instead of Squarespace and those type of models. For our web developer is $300 a month. I have a really close friend who loves this work, and part of the in-kind support that he's willing to give is to nonprofit organizations. So he's already agreed to $300 a month for however long we need him. But we've scheduled him to work at least 3 to 5 hours a week for these students that participate in the program.
All right. I think, Jim, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to where you got the idea to do this. What gave you the inspiration to do it? And are the kids interested in this, or is this something that you're interested in? I don't want to sound, anyway, I'm just curious, is this something that the kids have asked for or want, and or where did this need come from? And what gave you the idea to do this?
So it was a collaborative effort. I'll let Marjorie answer her part, and then I'll answer my part. Marjorie?
Yeah, in this COVID environment, that's where we came up with the idea. It was hard to reach the kids with our current programming. So we thought that this would be a great way to engage them in learning activities, to learn about diversity and inclusiveness, to learn about STEM. And so the IT person is not only will help with the web design, he's also teaching. We're having classes where we're actually teaching the students. So that's the other part of what his involvement is. But yeah, just because of COVID actually inspired us. And then we have ambassadors already, in place. And so we said, well, we need to bring more kids into this. And the best way to do it was the idea of a digital, because that's the way kids are learning now. They love that. They, I have a kid who stays for hours on the computer. And so they're different from us. They're into the digital
Absolutely.
world.
And so my sample size that I use come with our young ambassadors that we already have currently, and we have 7 of them. And they expressed that they enjoy this as well. And they also have students that they felt that they could bring aboard. But also with our case managers and our site coordinators that work in the schools, talk to our students all the time virtually. And one of the things is what we've noticed, that they don't mind getting online and talking to any of our site coordinators about what they want to talk about. They don't want to get on and talk about homework. So we do know that this will definitely help them and be able to grow the environment for us. But two of my best out of this collaboration that Marjorie talked about is 2 of the best things that comes out of this that I really want to focus on is the COVID-19 portion, the essay part, but really being able to have an interactive website on our website that they also can view and control and say that they have part of. And having to want to be a part of this. That's the biggest part about this. So anytime that we are, doing programs or having different types of ideas, please understand that we do try our hardest to reach our constituents, which is our students, to kind of figure out what are some things that they would want to do. Because if we don't have the numbers, then it's not effective. And so we definitely did have their input and wanted to do this. And I can't wait. I'm excited to see. And when I talked to some of our kids, they were like, Tommy, we don't want you to have anything to do with this. We don't want you to touch it. Don't try to go over there and touch anything. And I'm like, okay, I'll step away from it. But it seems like they're gathering ownership and it isn't even here yet. So we're pretty confident that we can make it work. And with 35 students that we can get involved, but only really having a sample size of 20, that we're really working on this model we think is consistent as well with our attendance levels.
Well, I definitely know that the COVID has caused issues with kids.
Yeah.
That it is a problem.
Yeah.
As some of these guys heard last night, I have a neighborhood organization. We did a citywide, actually, art contest and essay contest as to how they felt about the COVID, what was going on, and how were they feeling, what were they dealing with? Because a lot of kids, maybe they can't come out and talk about it, but they did in an essay and through art. So,
yeah.
But we know that the kids are being affected by this. So I was just curious, and I liked your I liked your answer. It was a good answer and thorough.
Absolutely, and we're working with a lot of juniors because some of our seniors are graduating. So we want to make sure that when they're juniors, they're seniors, they're part of the program. But we were sitting here thinking about, well, how do some of these students become young ambassadors, although they're all CIS students? And being able to judge and grade them based off of this, we think will be the best fit.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually have a question as well. You actually just answered one of my questions. I was going to ask what the target age for these particular students was, but knowing that they're juniors, which means they'll be rising seniors, will there be any elements maybe towards the end of the project or anything to like loop in local community colleges or like ECPI or anything like that? I'm just thinking if these are tech students and they're very interested in this field, if there's any tie for possible leg ups on college education in the field.
No, but one of the things that we did think of is that at the culmination of the event, we wanted to have a guest speaker who kind of expertise and focus on IT development. But another part of this as well is kind of preparing them for life skills. So we may actually have some partners like you mentioned, which is probably a good idea. We didn't think of this, but we could definitely have an interview, a mock trial interview at the end to have IT web developers come in and actually interview our students to test them on their knowledge and use that as a final evaluation. That's a good idea, Jessica. Thank you.
I definitely know that interviews can be very intimidating. So a practice in interviews is always a good thing because that first one, you're kind of falling all over yourself.
Jessica, would you be interested, if awarded, would you be interested in being part of that interview panel?
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. WYN.
I got a question and a comment.
Yes, sir.
So I am glad that y'all are focusing and really pushing on STEM. That of course, because especially in this climate, we have seen, you know, the value of students or people that are going towards that track, how it can be used today, you know, as well as beyond. I think this whole COVID stuff especially has put a highlight on the need for students to be able to have those ability to work in those fields. And of course, because of STEM, the nerd in me is excited to hear this conversation. But my comments, my question has to do with, I was looking at on the application, and you mentioned 20 ambassadors. So I was curious if in the model that you're using, if you know how many people that's going to actually be interested in it. And then on the 20, is that 20 going to get computers, or out of the 20, it will be whittled down to one person getting a computer?
Yeah, so we actually, in our budget, we have itemized that we had in-kind gifts from Healthy High Point, who actually helped us get computers for our enrichment center. And so they don't know this yet, but we already have them. And so those computers will be used to give to those students to use at the center.
Okay. And then lastly, just wanted to add also, along with Jessica, people that are wants to go into electrical engineering or computer engineering programming, this will be also great for them to be able to go into that field. So if you need anyone to do any interviews on that, with help with that, I will be happy to lend a hand in that.
Absolutely. And when we, again, if everything all goes well, we look to have a committee to score the essays as well. So we have some community buy-in as part of the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Walls or Ms. Rory? All right, great, guys. Mr. Walls, Ms. Rory, we do appreciate your time this evening, and we thank you for all your great work. And you guys have a great evening.
Thank you so much. If you all didn't have a chance, on our website is the Young Ambassadors' first public speaking session. They had a debate about food insecurity on our Facebook page for communities and schools. Check that out when you get a chance. That'll give you a small introduction of how skilled some of these students are. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. How's everybody doing? Doing good? Excellent.
Doing great.
Excellent. All right. So next we have up is the Senior Resources of Guilford. And Alicia, whenever you're ready.
Ellen Whitlock should be on the line for Senior Resources.
Hello, Ms. Whitlock.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Great. I think Alicia just connected me to you all. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. All right. All right, Ms. Whitlock, we are ready when you are.
Well, thank you all so much for allowing Senior Resources of Guilford to speak with you tonight about our request. We are asking you all to help us address food insecurity in older adults who live in low-income areas in High Point, North Carolina. You all have supported us in the past, and we are seeking support this year at a very critical time. We're asking for $5,950, which will allow us to provide home-delivered meals to 5 older adults who fall in a low to moderate income bracket for 12 months for the next fiscal year. One of the things that Senior Resources of Guilford has learned is the critical need that older adults have for food support during COVID. We have always known that the need was great, and we have always provided a large number of meals in the High Point community. We do not compete with the High Point Meals on Wheels program that is called Mobile Meals, because they use volunteers. And so we do our program in a different way. We were asked by United Way, and at the time, the High Point Regional Health System, who recognized that there were older adults checking out of their hospital and going home with absolutely no food. And so they asked if we would consider bridging the gap in what the High Point Mobile Meals program can provide and what the community need is. We have been overwhelmed with need in High Point. We have seen a huge amount of growth in the program. Thus, we recognized that we needed a second delivery vehicle. And COVID has been a blessing and a curse in many ways. But the blessing has been that it has provided nonprofits with some strongly needed foundation money that has allowed us to expand our programming. So we purchased a second vehicle, and we are now delivering on a regular basis 140 meals a day to those individuals that are 60 and older, have no one available to prepare a meal for them, and are physically unable to prepare that meal for themselves. We go out once the individual calls us, and we assess that individual to determine that they really do have needs. We are in contact with them every 6 months to see if their health situation has changed. On occasion, we get individuals that have a temporary health crisis and need some help. But for the most part, most people, once they come on the program, end up staying on the program until they either pass away, move in with a loved one in another area, or go to a long-term care facility. We have seen a tremendous rise in the ability to provide services during this year. Our meal delivery service is up 34%, which is amazing. And we still have a number of people on the waiting list attempting to get food. The COVID money has allowed us through the CARES and Family First Act to expand our programming and provide meals to many people that otherwise would be on a waiting list. Before COVID, we had about 300 seniors across the county, about a third of those living in High Point, that were waiting for food assistance. We were unable financially to provide those individuals with food. The CARES and Families First Act allowed us to provide food for them. However, we're unable to continue that food after December 31st of this year because those funds are going to be gone. First, the CARES dollars in September and Families First at the end of December. So we're seeking money from the City of High Point to allow us to continue to serve those individuals so that they will not be taken off of the meal delivery system and will continue to receive the nutritional support. Across the nation, we are told that 91% of the individuals that receive a home delivered meal say that that is the meal that allows them to continue to live in their home. A meal costs about $1,200 in actual dollars a year to have 5 meals a week. If we have to put someone in a long-term care setting, that cost can be up to $82,000 a year. Most of our residents want to continue to live in the home that they have established for many years, that is familiar and that they love, rather than going into a long-term care facility. The program and our other support systems allows them to stay in that home and to have the support they need. We find that with just a little bit of community-based support, these individuals can continue to live independently. And that is what many of the families want. By providing a noontime meal, it's a wellness check, and it's also an opportunity for the individual to have some socialization with the driver on a regular basis. During COVID, we are also making wellness calls to individuals that receive meals just to see if they have any other needs. During the year, they will get about 260 meals throughout the year. They are approved by a dietitian. They represent 1/3 of the daily nutrients that the individual needs as an older adult. And we know that when nutritional support is lacking in seniors, it leads to many other health disparities. It leads to depression. It leads to isolation. It can exhibit itself in health issues, falls, things of that nature, and then it's just a spiral downward. So we strongly believe that investing $1,500, $1,600 a year in someone to ensure that they have some support and keep them in their home is much better than them being hungry. And I don't think that any of us want to go to bed tonight with our fellow High Pointers being hungry. And we provide foods to an individual group that is frequently overlooked. A lot of times we think about our children and other populations, but these individuals are people that have worked in the mills in High Point, that have called High Point home for many, many years, and they want to continue to be able to live here in this community. I am happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure. I think I probably have talked my 5 minutes, Mr. Sims, and I'm happy to answer questions. I do want to emphasize the huge increase that we have seen, not only for our Meals on Wheels program at 34%, but for our information and referral line, senior line, which we are not asking funding for, but we have received a 22% increase during COVID from people calling desperate to find support. Not only have people needed that nutritional support, many of our seniors have been scared to go out of their homes into the marketplaces because they hear the governor wants us to stay home. He wants us to adhere to some of those guidelines, which are critically important. And these individuals are trying to do that. But then the flip side of that is it makes it very, very difficult for them to get the groceries and the food support that they need.
All right. Jim, you have a question?
Yeah, I heard you mention that you have a waiting list, and that was kind of disappointing to hear. So what made you decide to only ask for the amount that you asked for instead of asking for more to maybe, help eliminate that waiting list?
We would always be grateful for additional dollars. We were trying to put in a request that was reasonable, given the amount of money that you had to allocate, and recognizing that there are many, many other nonprofits. I heard Brad speaking when I got on the call initially that are trying to address food insecurity and help those populations as well. We have been able to do some unique things for our people the last year. We're delivering produce boxes to some groups. I think that we were just trying to come in with a reasonable request that was affordable and meaningful and will allow us to continue to help a subset of folks, and basically didn't want to be greedy.
Yeah, I understand, but I was just disappointing to hear that there's a waiting list. And I know I was sick for 6 weeks with the virus, and I live by myself, and I am a senior, and it was difficult for me to get food. Thank goodness Walmart has a delivery service and other stores, and plus some very close friends who were angels at the time. So I understand what it's like, but it just,
And I'm sorry that you went through that experience. I think one thing that is important for us to remember is that even in normal times, the agency receives about 50 calls a month from seniors in our community hoping to get on a Meals on Wheels program. And so I think that sadly, there isn't enough funding to put people on immediately. At one point, a couple of years ago, people were staying on that waiting list about 8 months, which was absolutely horrible. We had a few people that passed away while they were waiting, and we have tried very hard to look for other sources to fill that gap. But because of that influx every month, there will always be a small number of people waiting, because they go through the assessment process, that then they are routed. And so even under good times, it's going to take folks 2 to 3 weeks to get that whole process done, because we will call you 3 times to do the assessment. My feeling is that you're supposed to be homebound. And so you ought to be able to answer those questions, or answer the phone when we call, and answer the assessment that's required by the government. And that's basically measuring your activities of daily living and making sure that you do have needs. I see your post on so many different sites, and I know how technology savvy you are. But for many of our people, they didn't have a clue how to order their groceries online at Walmart. And we found volunteers that would go and get their groceries and would take them to them, because they may not qualify. They were basically healthy older adults, but they were scared to go out. And so we tried to find some ways to help fill those gaps to get food to their homes as well, because we have a large number of folks that are not computer savvy. And so they have struggled during COVID.
Well, I know you're dedicated to this, and I appreciate it. And all I can say is keep up the good work.
You're very kind. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Whitlock? Questions or comments? All right. Ms. Whitlock, thank you very much for coming out this evening. And again, I want to echo the sentiments of Mr. Bronner. Thank you for all you do for the citizens of this city, and we appreciate everything that you do.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you all for being willing to volunteer your time. Thank you all, and Michelle and Alicia, and particularly for the COVID grant we got through the city of High Point. We have successfully spent all of those dollars, and really appreciate the gap that provided for us as well. And so we're grateful for the partnerships we have with the city of High Point.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Whitlock. You have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
All right, group. Doing good. We are one proposal away. So we have the growing High Point. And Alicia, whenever you're ready.
Yes, I think it's Willa Mays, possibly Patrick Harmon. See who pops up.
There he is.
It's Patrick, yeah. As you all know, the Grodega ribbon cutting is tomorrow at 11. So Willa's running around, scurrying around, getting everything ready for the launch on Monday. So I'm filling in for Willa, although I'm the chair of Growing High Point. And I mean, just as a lot of you guys know, I mean, Growing High Point was originally a foundation, Hayden Harmon Foundation initiative, and became its own 501c3 in the summer of 2019. And Victoria was the head of Growing High Point, and she departed in December. And so Willa Mays is the new director, started at the beginning of January. So we've had a bit of transition in our new organization. But this grant request is for a community orchard in the Southside area. I mean, this is something we proposed last year, and something we still want to do, because the work of Growing High Point has been predominantly in East Central High Point, and we want to expand to other areas. And we thought this is a good entree point to build relationships, additional relationships in the Southside area. But just a little bit more background about Growing High Point, just in case you don't know. I mean, we have urban farm leaders. We have 5 urban farm leaders growing on 9 lots, and they've been selling at the High Point Farmers Market for a couple of years now. And this past year, we started a food hub behind our office on Washington Street, and there's an online farm stand as well. And of course, the Grodega that'll be launching next week. So we're a rapidly growing organization. But as far as this grant, again, the idea, we started planning for this last year, and meeting with Dorothy Darr from the Southwest Renewal Foundation and Parks and Rec to figure out a lot of efforts that they're doing and how we might could use some of the spaces along the Greenway. Basically, there's the bridge near the Southside Rec Center that goes over the creek. And the idea is to do this urban orchard just beyond that, where the asphalt kind of curves into the bridge. That was some conversations we had with Mike Mcnair, Community Development, and some other folks that it might be a good area to do the orchard. We met with Savieros to figure out what possible trees and berry bushes were good for North Carolina. Have a trim list to begin with. And so the goal is to engage the community to a great degree in terms of deciding what kind of fruits and nuts that they would like to have to be able to eat and to harvest. So as far as the specific trees and berry bushes, that's to be determined by the neighborhood and their interests and what they might like to have. And this is kind of what Growing High Point does. We engage the surrounding community through door knocking and meetings and that sort of thing to kind of get people acclimated to the work of Growing High Point. So the goal is to engage a number of community members with the urban orchard, the planting and the maintaining as well. And then we'll have an advisory committee, just like we've done with the Grodega. It's been really helpful to move the process along. So it's been a really key thing. And so there's the trees and the bushes aspect of it, but then there's the educational programming around it about how you might be able to utilize the various fruits that are being grown and the nutritional value of the berries and different fruits. Because there's Southside, there's Fairview, there's Leap, there's the community garden with Johnny Horn, and I've known him for a number of years, and he's excited about this. And so that's kind of the rub of the idea. And hopefully we'll be able to, to recruit some additional urban farm leaders as well and to promote the great Bodega as well. So that's kind of the basic idea of the urban orchard. A number of different communities that have done this sort of thing for folks to forage and that sort of thing. It's a way to introduce some healthy eating aspects onto folks' diet for providing these resources. So that's basically the short summary of what we're trying to do there in the South Side. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Jim.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, how you doing?
Doing good.
I just got a quick comment. I know the kind of work that you do here in the city, and it's fantastic. But and I'm glad you chose the profession that you did, because that rock and roll gig wouldn't have got it. So that's all.
Oh, you've seen the video. Well, yeah. The summer is coming back, June 5th. Oh. So I've been practicing every day. So we'll see.
I didn't recognize you with hair.
Seriously.
Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, when you're young, you think you're going to rule the world with your music. That surely doesn't happen. So. Nobody else look on Facebook for that video.
Yeah, you chose the right profession.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Patrick, I have a question.
Sure.
How has the recruitment gone in the neighborhoods with the Growing High Point?
Well, I mean, as far as the South, they got waylaid by COVID. We know a number of the folks, in that area. But how it worked in other areas, in Pershing Street area, we just started having door knocking is one component, just having conversations with folks on the front porches, and then having community events, potlucks, and that sort of thing to kind of build relationships, and just sort of it grows from there. Like I said, I mean, we know Johnny Horn, and Tony Collins, and Dorothy Dahr, and Claire Robinson. So there's a good network already that kind of are aware of the work we're doing. And so hopefully that'll facilitate things going forward. I mean, I heard recently when I was presenting at a conference recently, that you move at the speed of trust. And so that's kind of how the work evolves with Growing High Point and the work of the foundation, truthfully. So that's kind of how we work. I mean, you can't force things, because if you get it ahead of where folks are, then it's not going to end well. Which I guess West End found out in the early days with Ross Lackey, if you guys remember him, who got kind of ahead of where the neighborhood was. So that's never a good thing. So, I mean, that's the advantage of being embedded in the community that the Foundation Growing High Point is you know, we walk with folks. And so.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions, comments for Mr. Harmon?
Yeah, I just got one question. Hey, Patrick, how are you?
Doing good.
All right, just got a question. The track that you all are looking at for the trees and stuff, I was just wondering, is there any infrastructure that will be needed to support the trees and shrubs and you all put it in, or are these, you know, the trees and the, you know, what are the fruits and vegetables, will they not have any need for any infrastructure to be placed in?
Yeah, we're going to have to install some kind of water system. When we talked with Mcnair last year, he's like, well, you probably could do a well out there. So there's still some things to work out as far as the water access. I mean, one of the things about planting these trees is that they're going to have water bags. And so they'll sort of retain water for a while. And once they sort of get mature, then they sort of take care of themselves. And so, yeah, we had a lot of conversations with Parks and Rec about, because they mow along there as well. It's like, well, you guys are willing to mow around the trees and this, that, and the other. So there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of figuring out the infrastructure aspect of it. Because obviously it has to be sustainable, right? I mean, we can't be carrying buckets of water out there. That's not very sustainable, is it? Although I do have a water tank that I bought a couple of years ago, but yeah, I mean, so potentially, I mean, it could shift a bit. I mean, that was just kind of the plan last year. If it isn't feasible, then we'll have to find another place in that area. I mean, the foundation has leased a number of lots owned by the city in that area, so there is some flexibility with exactly where it may be laid out. And you know, you have plans, and then things change. There's plan A, B, C, and D, you know, kind of a thing. But I'm really excited about the project. And one of the city, you know, with this small scale manufacturing task force that I'm also on, bought a piece of property just down from Southside Rec Center. It has a building where some folks are doing some work with us a lot. And I've had conversations with Sandy Dunbeck about that being a garden. So, I mean, if the other area that we want to do, it doesn't really work out so much. It's like a block down the road and there's infrastructure there for the water and that sort of thing. So it could be something like that. I found that you really need to be flexible in community work. That's like the number one thing. So.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Well, Mr. Harmon, again, thank you for coming by this evening. Your presentation was awesome. And, you know, I do want to congratulate you on the Grodega, which will be a ribbon cutting tomorrow.
That's right.
Starting on
That's
Monday.
right. That's right. So you guys all got an invite at 11 o'clock tomorrow. The weather, I think it's not going to rain till like 1. So, I mean, you guys are going to be blown away. I mean, thanks so much for your belief in us, particularly being such a nascent organization, but you're going to be blown away by the look of this and how much inventory is actually on that. I mean, there's 60 some items that are on the vehicle. So it's just, I'm flabbergasted. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Patrick, again, and you have a good evening, sir.
All right, thanks you guys too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Good job. Great job. So do we have any questions from the group? Any comments?
Sam, can I ask this question?
Yes, sir.
Did we award them last season? Or was that a Michelle question?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did Growing High Point.
We didn't do Growing High Point.
We
didn't award them for this project.
I'm sorry, say again.
Did not award them for this project.
That last time they wanted funding for an event or something like that, and it didn't.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Last year they they came before you with this particular project, and then they came before you with the event for Growing High Point did not. Hayden Harmon came to you with the event for the Unity Festival.
That's right. I
And
put
then-
the two together in my mind, but they came together as separate entities. I remember now.
There was the sanitation project too.
That was for COVID.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Well, team, I just want to let everyone know, just keep in mind that Michelle has sent out score sheets. So we want to make sure that we are filling those out and getting those back to her by tomorrow. They're all electronic unless individuals, if you need paper copies, I think Michelle has provided those. I'm not sure.
No, everyone has the electronic copy that we sent to you, but for the individuals that received the books, they have paper copies in the books.
Okay. Excellent. So again, we want to make sure to get those in by tomorrow. Michelle will score them and then she'll let us know how that came out. Let's keep in mind that this year, we do have a budget number. So if everyone paid attention to the proposals, we definitely will have to make some decisions here. And looking at the group that we've gotten in this year, there are, a few that are geared towards seniors. There's definitely others that are geared toward emergency services. And then there is, of course, Weston Ministries with theirs. But I just want to make sure everyone's paying attention to, the score sheet and knowing what kind of budget that we do have. So keeping that in mind, just make sure that we're scoring them and we're getting them back into Michelle. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? All right. So moving to the next item, we have announcements, comments. I was going to again mention the Grodega, but Patrick just mentioned that. There's the ribbon cutting tomorrow at 11, and they will begin operation on Monday. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
where's that ribbon cutting at?
It's going to be on Washington Street at the Food Hub, and let me see where that flyer is because he sent that out to us.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's okay.
710 East Washington Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna rain now.
Well, no, Patrick said it's going to hold off till 1 just for us. So we don't have to worry about that, but
Oh,
we will have
actually,
umbrellas.
okay.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. So we're hoping everybody can come out, and hopefully we can see you there. Okay.
Hi, Jay.
Rob, I have an announcement. Is it announcement time?
Yes.
Okay, as you guys recall, last night we wished Clodagh a happy birthday. So she's here, so we can wish her a happy birthday in person, via video, not in person. And so, he may get mad with me because of this, but Mike's birthday is on Sunday too.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you. Michelle was not authorized to do that.
Happy birthday to both of you.
She didn't tell your age.
He's 28.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
But that's everything that I have. And I don't know if Mike and Nina may have something close us out.
I don't have anything.
No, and I don't have anything.
To adjourn.
I think you wanted to, Jim, did you have a comment?
A motion to adjourn.
Okay. Well, before we adjourn, our next meeting is going to be scheduled for March 25th. So just make sure to put that on your calendars. And I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, being attentive. That just shows just the commitment that we have here at the CAC. So I want to thank everyone for being on tonight. And so, with that,
Before you adjourn, let me say something really quick. I wanted to recognize the hard work of the staff of putting this together. I've been using the same materials you have, and I've found the quality to be excellent. I also want to commend you as a body because you had two very efficient and well-organized meetings. And I think we all appreciate that. So I just wanted to say that for the record.
And Mike, I know you said staff, and I know we made Ryan an honorary member, but I really want to reach out and say thank you to Ryan also, because he's been with us through the COVID event, through pretty much all of our our CAC meetings. And he's bared with us all the little pains that we may have caused him. And so, and I just want to say thank you to Ryan also.
Hear, hear. Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, is there a night that you don't have a city meeting to sit through?
No. Nope. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
right. Okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Already made it.
And do we have a second?
Belton, second.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.